time. At the outset, I would like to thank the scientific committee for giving me this opportunity. My role will be, I'll be just sharing my slides on regulatory requirements for ophthalmic theaters. So as we all know, the main challenge with any ophthalmic surgeon, the main complication, that a dreadful complication anybody would expect, is postoperative endophthalmitis and toxic anterior segment syndrome. We saw it in a brief way by my previous speakers. Very well they have covered. So in an eye hospital, the high risk area is our operation theater. So many times operation theater is called the heart of the whole eye hospital. We are very lucky that the government of India has laid in a lot of regulatory methods, especially the National Building Code, which clearly mentions what are the protocols, what are the materials to be used for the building. So an efficient OT starts with how efficiently it's been constructed and how well it has been planned, starting from the zoning and the materials that has to be used for the theater, for the patient care. Everything has to be planned and procured properly. National Control for Blindness, NPCB, also lays in stringent protocols. And we are lucky that after undergoing the NABH, which has set in standard operating protocols and validation measures, we are able to maintain the standards. So the important requirements for OT includes OT design, heating, ventilation, and air conditioning system, the infection control protocols, and especially the periodic validation. So where should an ideal operating theater complex be situated? So it should be in a place where there is minimal patient movement, especially to avoid any dust, noise pollution. It should not be facing the road. So in the modern OTs, the zoning has to be properly placed in. This is basically to keep the bacterial contamination to the level and to keep the aseptic level in a proper measure. Zoning includes the protective zone, clean, aseptic, and the disposal zone. The protective zone or the unsterile zone includes the reception area where the paperwork goes on, the semi-sterile area, which is the changing room and the transfer zone, the sterile area, the scrubbing, gowning, gloving, operating room, and the autoclave room, the disposal zone, which includes the biomedical waste and all the equipment and supplies where it is procured. Always maintain an unidirectional flow. Here clearly it is shown in the picture how the patient flow is towards the operating room and how the staff is towards the operating room and how the sterilization windows is present and how the materials are being exited for waste disposal. So specific color codings and the specific denotions about the area and the sterile zone have to be displayed in the operating theater. So unidirectional flow has to be kept in mind when we design our theaters. The internal structures, the physical structures, starting from the doors, could be a double or a single hermeted stainless steel doors. The roof has to be stainless steel. Coving design is usually preferable because it prevents any contamination, any dust, and it's easy to clean also. The flooring should be having glazing tiles, larger tiles, so that minimal amount of gaping or no gaping is present, minimal joints are there. Epox painting is always preferable for the OT because it gives an additional microbiological cover as well. And always avoid false roofing in the operating theater, especially in the operating theater complex, because it is difficult to clean. Air is an important culprit which has to be kept in mind. So a dedicated heating, ventilation, air conditioning system has to function for an efficient OT. Dedicated air handling units, ducts, AC compressors, which has to be running 24 hours with variable frequencies. 2 pre-HEPA filters, 5 micron and 3 microns are preferable. With the laminar airflow, there is a dynamic change in the OT. So the air quality and cooling, pressure and particulate count should be maintained within the ISO class 5 clean room standards. At least 20 to 30 air exchanges are required with minimal of 4 new air exchanges from outside. The measured air velocity and positive pressure has to be maintained inside the OT. HEPA filters definitely gives an important role in the modern OTs. It has revolutionized and there is no requirement for any fumigation process to happen. So the bacterial containing air within 30 centimeters should be kept at 10 per cubic meter in the operating site and 20 per cubic meter in rest of the OTs. So this video gives an animated image about the high efficient particulate air, how in an OT that HEPA system functions to reduce 0.3 microns to 99.97%. So most of the organisms of a size of 0.5 is being removed. Avoid using window ACs, and if you're using split ACs, make sure that the vents, the filters are being cleared properly, cleaned properly, and dried and then fixed in, because this could be a major source of infection in case of clusters. The temperature and humidity, according to the standards, it has to be maintained. Temperature of 21 plus or minus 3 and humidity of 55 is ideal. They should be recorded. You should have a recording for your individual OTs, what the temperature and humid. There are multiple components, as my previous speakers have mentioned, which could be source of infection. It could be a crowded OT, the materials that are used, the infrastructures, the tubings, anything can be a culprit. So always render free of all the living microorganisms, including spores. So cleaning, disinfection, terminal cleaning plays a major role, unless it should not be compromised at any stage. Details about cleaning I will not be able to cover in my presentation now. Coming on to the autoclave, the horizontal autoclave machines which work on the steam under pressure principle are the more preferred ones. The manual ones are there, automated ones are there. Vertical ones which works on the gravity, we do not usually use. Flash autoclaves, which are otherwise called as the immediate use steam sterilizers, may be used for purpose when there is a drop-in instrument. The horizontal double-door autoclaves in modern OTs play a very major role because they are automatized. You have screens which display all the manual programs. It is easy for the person to handle because there's printers that are attached, and the manual programs, automatic programs are there, troubleshooting is there. You have screens which display the cycle, the programs, and certain program by the company people helps us to function very clearly about the various programs that we require. But we have to keep in mind, though it is automated, every parameter has to be documented when it comes to the court of law. In a mitigation process, you need to have documented that this process has gone through the standard phase with the temperature and what load. The three label indicator keeps us clear information, what load, how many instruments were there put in, what were the things that are used for the patient. So this has to be clearly maintained in autoclave record. Coming on to the indicators, which says us about the quality. There are 6 indicators. It's not hierarchy wise. The class 1 indicator, class 2, class 5 and 6 are the crucial ones. Class 1 indicator is a simple 3-line indicator. It just says that the product has gone through the autoclave. It doesn't say that the sterilization process, the parameters have been met. So any color change for the steam sterilizer from blue to black or for an ETO from blue to green means that the sterility it has gone through the sterilization process. Bovedic class 2 indicator gives us a clear idea that for an empty load, the pack is kept in the top of the load. So the pattern change according to the standard gives us that the autoclave machine, the vacuum function has been functioning well. It has to be documented weekly once. A Bovedic definitely has to be put in for an autoclave. The class 5 indicator SteriGauge has a very major role. It's very crucial. It has to be documented. Here the color change has to be complete from a empty white to the whole black. If continuously it fails, then the batch has to be changed in. Specifically, every load has to have a SteriGauge. TST, again, the temperature, steam, and time, that all the 3 critical parameters are covered in this class 6 emulating indicators. So the sterility assurance level has to be maintained within 10 to the power of -6. That means the probability that 1 in a million spore survives the process. But even though, if it is that situation, the bugs don't lie, and this can be picked up easily through the biological indicator. So this is an ideal method through which the load sterility can be proved. So the biological indicator, it has the Geobacillus stereothermophilus for steam, and for ETO, it is Bacillus atrophius. So the tubing contains the large number of bacterial resistant spores, heat resistant spores, which only under the right conditions. So after the tubes are placed in the autoclave, if the right condition has been met, once they are sent to the lab and incubated, it will remain the same color. If the organisms are not being killed and right condition hasn't been achieved, you will see as it appears in the 4th tubing that the color will change to brown. That means the autoclave has not run to the proper parameters. So we need to be careful about that. So in these cases, when the reports are being produced, it has to be documented if the biological indicator has passed. Ideally, every load has to have a biological indicator, but it is not possible because of the cost wise and for the results. At least once a week, definitely the autoclave, there should be a biological indicator that should be passed in. Now, recently we have the super fast rapid readouts, which within 24 hours, we're able to get in the 24 minutes, we're able to get in the results. This is because of the cost, we won't be able to use it for every case. Here again, air and water plays an important role. The surveillance is very important. For air, settle plate method and swab method can be used in. One has to be sure about the levels that has to be maintained both for the water and for the air. Definitely, there are in the tap water and the RO water and all kinds of water that is used for cleaning purpose and for the theatre purpose have to be undergone a water surveillance. So a dedicated RO plant has to undergo hot water flushing, and proper cleaning of the tanks should take place. Proper monitoring is very much essential. One has to keep in mind that this can never be compromised. Coming on to the autoclaving of the things. So a good teamwork is very much essential. So you need to, after the theater is completed, every case, the sets have to be segregated according to the sharp blend cannulated instruments. So then proper cleaning, meticulous cleaning is required for sharps. Better to use a soft brush. For cannulated tubes, better to use in 20 cc syringe and flush it off. Definitely they have to go through the ultrasonic cleaners, wherein any particulate matter tissues that are stuck in between the hinges will be removed by the ultrasonic waves, but through the cavitation. Then the instruments will be spread in air or hot air dryers can be used in. Any presence of wet, moist will not let the steam to penetrate. The autoclaving process would not be complete. The sterilization will be incomplete. So good amount of spreading. Don't load the bins. Definitely each bin should have the 3-line indicator, and if possible, all the bins should have the Sterigauge class 5 indicator as well. In between OTs also, if you want, we can use a high-speed autoclaves for in-between sterilization. Coming on to the materials that's used in the OT, it can also be a culprit. So definitely every time a batch changes in for the fluids, it has to go in for a culture. Those have to be recorded. As ma'am mentioned, every material that is used for the patient, every autoclave material that is used has to be coded. So it's easy for us to track back. Even on our EMR, we maintain such that the patient, when we open, all the materials are everything coded, and we are very much careful about. Coming on to the autoclave note, so it is the responsibility of the team leader, that's the doctor for that theater, to be very much aware what the material has been used, what the expiry dates, and what was the batch, whether all the autoclave process have gone in. So this is like a double check. Apart from the CSST team, the theater team also and the operating team has to be aware of the things that are being used. So being very meticulous helps us to recall in any incidents of mishaps. Never underestimate the importance of hand washing and hand scrubbing. Always concentrate and focus time in teaching juniors and the medical assisting team, the surgical assisting team, to do a proper hand washing, hand scrubbing, and also gloving has to be maintained. Sterility has to be maintained in all levels. Of course, compliance audit has to be also undertaken to keep everything to the level. Last but not the least, biomedical waste management should never be compromised, because 15% of infected waste can become 100% if it is not concentrated at every level. So segregation at the source with the materials and with the proper posters being put in, and a proper teaching and continuous teaching is required for management. It should not be stored beyond 48 hours. So by following the safety requirements, definitely it is possible for us to achieve a 0% of postoperative endophthalmitis. Being an institution of a tertiary eye care, handling nearly 1 lakh cases a year, we were able to achieve in the previous years of 0.01% of endophthalmitis. So it is a reality, it is a dream that can come true, but it's only by a team effort and by a constant effort. I thank once again for giving me this opportunity. I could take questions towards the end. Thank you so much.